let's talk about YouTube, what it's used for, what the pros are, and what the cons are. So when will we actually use YouTube and what is it good for? Now, the really cool thing about YouTube is that you can target by intent and context. So rather than targeting people based on who they are, we can target people in the moment that they're in. So we might have a new beauty brand and we know people go onto YouTube and they watch beauty tutorials. So we can actually target people based on the video they're about to watch. Now, that could be a tutorial video, that could be an influencer, that could be anything. And we can target from a very specific video to a channel to a topic. So we can actually make the most of context with YouTube. Now, I'd make sure that your audience is on YouTube. There are some industries and areas that YouTube is amazing for. As I mentioned, beauty, fashion, fitness, travel, any kind of DIY, that there's a lot of industries on there that there's a heap of content that you could be targeting. But of course, there are some industries that may not work as well on YouTube. So have a think about whether your audience is on YouTube and is watching video content. Also think about when people are on YouTube, how they use the channel. So typically when we look at our results from YouTube, we see a very low click-through rate because people aren't necessarily going to click on the ad there and then. They're there to watch the video after your ad. So I like to think of YouTube kind of like online TV advertising, where we're trying to get people to remember our brand to look it up later. So always think about, we're not looking for a high click-through rate, we're using it as a brand awareness tool to get them back at a later date. And the last thing to think about is I guess the video production side of things. So I know a deterrent for a lot of people with YouTube ads is the high cost of video production, or that they don't feel like they can make a video that's good enough. So think about what you have resources for. Could you cut costs by doing a group shoot, or could you do a couple test videos that are on the lower end and then invest when you've actually proven the channel? Have a think about what will work for you as a company. Now, my last tip for YouTube for any brands on a budget is to make sure you utilize the format called skippable videos. I'm sure you've all been on YouTube and there's a skippable video that you can skip after 5-6 seconds. This is a really good format because you only pay if someone either clicks on your ad or watches it until the end. So when people actually click skip, that's a free view for you. So in my opinion, this is kind of like only paying if your ad was actually successful. So really, really efficient use of your money. Influencers, they're everywhere, and brands ask me all the time whether or not they should use influencers. In my opinion, when you're on a budget, they are a lot of money to invest in, and you're much better off owning that data and owning the analytics. So when a brand does come to me with a limited budget, I typically say to avoid influencers and spend that budget on a digital marketing channel like one of the ones that we've been through today. And in general, I guess my best advice for when you are on a budget is also take the time to just learn all of these platforms yourself. There is a heap of free resources out there. A lot of them are self-serve now. And what that means is exactly as it sounds. It's like self-serve McDonald's machines. It's self-serve. You can go on there and you actually have the exact same access to the platforms as some of the biggest agencies worldwide do. So take the time to learn it yourself. In the show notes, in Afterpay Access, there is some resources that you can have a look at for different training platforms and websites that are really helpful as well. That was a lot of information. So a quick recap for you. Yes, you can absolutely get results on a shoestring budget across all of the digital marketing channels that we've spoken about today, but there are a couple things that you need to remember. Firstly, make sure you do some preparation. So check that your website is optimized, check you're confident about your goals, consider your timing, make sure everything is as good as it can be before you invest money into marketing. Secondly, pick your platform carefully, based on where your audience is, not which platform you're most comfortable with. Thirdly, make sure you make the most of your owned audiences first. That's your website visitors, your social media followers, your email list. These are your warm audiences that are much more open to you messaging them rather than brand new cold prospecting audiences. Another thing to remember is to give your campaigns enough time to perform. Make sure that you give it the time to get results and to test and to learn. Try to also learn about paid digital marketing if you can. It's always better to learn for yourself rather than paying someone else and not understanding what you're paying for. There are a heap of free resources. Make sure you make the most of them and just give it a go. If you're looking for any more advice or want to go more in depth in the tips and terms in this video, head to the link on your screen now.